Network Entertainment.
Ito, a lot of people are already penciling in Dragunov versus Gunter in the finals of the Raw bracket.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, all right. Like there's this feeling that they're not gonna waste this match on, even though both matches on Raw were really good. But I felt like they're gonna save this for something bigger.
Tsaka, nobody on the fucking main roster audience knows who Dragunov is. You saw Raw in Hartford this week. Nobody knew the Unbesiegbar chant. So, but ko kayo sasayangin ngayon when I still need to build up Dragunov for the Ninong Abis of the world, diba?
Who's ready for story time?
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Let me talk to you.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Run!
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles.
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the star, the NXT champion, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
And you're listening...
And you are listening...
And you're listening
to the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
You are watching and listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C. Romoran and Emil Nate at your service on the Thursday before Mother's Day. A happy Mother's Day in advance to all the moms, including our own, syempre, and even to the moms of our friends who've already passed away, particularly Emil, whose mother's no longer with us. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. Di lang yung mga mom, syempre, our yayas, kasambahays, our grandmothers, mga titas na parang mother figures, or mga kapatid na parang mother figure. Diba? Anybody who's ever played a maternal role in our lives, we celebrate them, we love them, and syempre, we acknowledge you on Mother's Day. How was your Thursday, gentlemen?
Yeah,
Thursday,
pretty okay. Yeah, sorry, Emil, I'll go. I already went. So, okay naman. It's actually not as hot today, right? So that's pretty. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't feel the heat so much around here today.
Umulan sa amin.
Yeah. Yeah. Legit. And just like that, the heat wave is over.
Yeah. Yeah, ako naman, my Thursday's good. Woke up to the news that I passed the civil service exam. So me and Bruce, actually, both of us.
Yeah, Father Bruce.
Yeah, so congrats to us. And,
congrats, guys.
It's a good day. Saka, it feels good na bumalik ulit dito sa stream. It's been a while. I was out of live stream the last 2 weeks, so it feels good to be back.
All right. We have a lot to talk about as usual, so we're really psyched that you're here joining us on the live stream or on the podcast, wherever you're consuming the Wrestling podcast. Albert, feel namin yan. Lahat kami pagod ng magtrabaho. That's why we're here to talk about wrestling instead.
You make us make
that
money.
Is very much felt. Yeah. Felt yan, sir. All right. So, sige, before we get into any of the wrestling talk, let's talk about some of the stuff we always plug, starting with the Patreon program, which Emil will be happy to tell you about.
All right. So, you can support the podcast and everything that we do here by subscribing and subbing to our Patreon program. It's right there below the link. Patreon.com/wrestling podcast. For as low as $5, so 250 to 260 pesos locally. You get benefits, of course. You get to join in on our Discord where we talk about things, wrestling, and all other things that we want to talk about. And also, we host some watch parties, virtual watch parties in there, since the next 3 PLEs are sobrang alanganin ng oras, so we'll probably do that on the Discord. And also, you get some review content of the weekly wrestling shows, courtesy of all of us. I think all of us at this point, except Stan, is writing a review for Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, Impact, and some local wrestling stuff as well. And Also, the Pasabais, which just concluded the last one. And if you want to get some preferential rates on the service fees, you can join in on our Discord and support the cause. And again, by subbing or subscribing, you're pretty much supporting everything that we do here now that the pod is going strong for 10 years. The link is right there below, patreon.com/wrestling podcast.
All right. How about some happy row noises as we show some love to Blast TV?
Blast TV! All right, guys. Yeah, this is why. How many weeks have I been doing this? But for those who who are tuning in for the first time, who are joining us now, who have discovered the podcast, you're in the Philippines, you have a connection to Converge or Globe at home. Eto na, this is where you watch the mainstream, the main roster, Raw, WWE shows, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. You've been looking for a way to watch it legally. You don't have to jump through hoops, dodge dogs, and find a whole bunch of illegal sites to get your Raw, SmackDown, or NXT fix. Ito na, Blast TV, www.blasttv.ph, app.blasttv.ph. It is free for Converge and Globe at Home subscribers. It's not so free, but only 179 pesos for other subscribers if you have other internet providers. So murang-mura yan, guys. We don't have Netflix yet. We're not gonna have Netflix yet. Disney Plus, not gonna be your best friend around here for wrestling. So this is your best bet. If you want to catch up on the week to week, want to know what's happening, don't want to rely on the PLEs that you might not be able to watch anyway, this is where you go get it. Go get it now. Because if we don't cherish it, we'll lose it.
Mm-hmm. Wise words from Ro, part of your happy Ro noises every week. To answer Bruce's question, yes, Emil did get his polo from the Pasabais. So, sinama namin yan sometime last year when Emil was about to get called up. It's not a WWE shop, so we had to find that on our own.
It is officially WWE licensed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there, another reason for you to get your pasabay or your merch rather from our Pasabais. Let's start things off with the news that broke out over the weekend. Di natin napag-usapan ng weekend reactions, and it is WrestleMania 41 being in Las Vegas. So this one caught a lot of people by surprise because people were expecting that this would be in Minnesota. And then over the last 2 weeks, I guess, bigla na lang nag-pivot. And then somebody said, no, it's not happening in Minnesota anymore. It's apparently happening in Vegas. Yung bali-balita is that WWE themselves doesn't want to do these really, really cold East Coast WrestleManias anymore, which, I've experienced myself. They're not all that fun kapag hindi ka hiyang sa lamig or if it's like really uncomfortable. But the date here is pretty interesting because this is probably as late as WrestleMania has ever been. Papatak siya ng 420 and Easter Sunday. So san ka pa? Happy na. Easter pa.
Is that Easter? Next year? It is?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
420 is Easter Sunday. You can get high with the Lord.
Jesus gets high on life. The life that he got back. But yeah, Minnesota is not in the East Coast. It's in the Midwest. But it is pretty cold. And this... Yeah, the reason why they made it this late is that para well into spring na siya, diba? So it's not in the tail end of winter. So I dig it. Like if I had the money, I would go to it because I have family that is in Southern California, so that's like a half a day's drive away to Vegas, diba? Pretty good. Solid siya. Malamig pa rin siya, all things considered, but it's not super cold since it is right next to the desert. So, if you're in Vegas, if you have family in Vegas, kung meron kayong mga tito-tita na nakatala sa Las Vegas, gawin nyo na yan. Gawin nyo na yan. You have a whole last year to plan and save and make the money to get on the trip.
Wala magkakalat, wala mag-hangover dun.
It's also kind of not surprising nasa Las Vegas yung WrestleMania next year, considering that they have that new stadium arena, the Allegiant Stadium. So parang it was inevitable na WWE will have a WrestleMania because they always do that. Whenever there would be a new stadium, parang nagiging mandatory that they would have a WrestleMania in that particular new arena. So Surprising yung date though, kasi again, like you already said, this is the latest WrestleMania I think ever. Kasi wala pang umahabot ng WrestleMania na April 20 na WrestleMania pa rin. So it's a welcome surprise. It's within my birthday week, which is fantastic.
Papunta ka?
So no,
Pumunta ka sa Las Vegas.
Hindi sa Las Vegas. Sa viewing party.
Kala ko pupunta ka eh.
Kala ko magsa-sponsor ka ng ticket pa birthday mo eh.
So yeah, it's definitely good news, and relieved na din na they already announced na we're gonna have WrestleMania 41 in Vegas.
Yeah. So ito rin, a bunch of you said it in the comment section, sina Joe M, among others, na it's also a way to avoid March Madness, specifically the Final Four. Kasi yun yung nakabangga ng WrestleMania, di ba? People were talking about Caitlin Clark around the same time. People were asking whether or not Cody would finish the story. So I think it's also a great way to just avoid the hoopla of March Madness, even though Caitlin Clark is awesome. Sige, moving on, let's go and talk about the King and Queen of the Ring, which is a whole ass PLE all on its own, which is great because more PLEs means more work for your boy. It's happening at the end of May. Actually, it's a day before Double or Nothing. So back to back yan.
It is the evening.
Madaling araw.
It is the evening before next Dekada.
Oh,
there's that too.
Wow.
There's
wow.
that weekend is loaded with wrestling.
Oh my God.
So madaling araw ng May 26, King and Queen of the Ring. Tapos next Dekada sa gabi Manila time. Then the next morning is Double or Nothing. So
Jesus
good luck
Christ.
na sa mga budhi nating lahat, ano?
I don't know how I'm gonna handle.
God damn. Well, you're gonna enjoy yourself, bro, because you're gonna be on the same card.
Yeah, but I have
Saber freaking.
I will, pero I still have to watch the show because we're gonna have a podcast either on Monday or on Tuesday.
I mean, tayo naman yung boss dito eh. So we can always say, let's just save it for the live stream. Come on. Who are we kidding here? We are our bosses here. Okay, bracketology time. You're looking at the men's bracket right now. Yung women's bracket, we'll talk about that later. Hindi pa siya kompleto. But as of Monday Night Raw, this is the bracket as it stands. We still have one first-round match happening at a WWE live event, that being Kofi Kingston versus Rey Mysterio. So Drew McIntyre is out. Apparently, he has a legit injury, which took him out of the tournament, replaced with Jey Uso, who just defeated Finn Balor in round 1. Emil, looking at this field, who do you have advancing to the finals and who do you see being the 2024 King of the Ring?
Right, so for the Raw side of things, a lot of people are already penciling in Dragunov versus Gunther in the finals of the Raw bracket.
I don't buy that.
Oh, right. Like there's this feeling that they're not gonna waste this match on, even though both matches on Raw were really good. But I felt like they're gonna save this for something bigger.
Tsaka, nobody on the fucking main roster audience knows who Dragunov is. You saw Raw in Hartford this week. Nobody knew the Unbesigbar chant. So, but ko kayo sasayangin ngayon when I still need to build up Dragunov for the Ninong Abis of the world, diba?
So to continue, I still think it's Gunther on the Raw side, and on the SmackDown, madami sa SmackDown possibilities eh. But I think as of this moment, LA Knight, I can see LA Knight being the one to advance in the finals. And of course, the winner is probably going to be Gunther because they're already building up to it, and he's the strongest contender out of everyone to be King of the Ring. So I'll go with Gunther.
Gunther is your pick for King of the Ring.
Yes.
Okay. Ikaw, Ro.
For anything, I want to petition na sana si David Pomeranz ang kumanta ng theme ng PLE na to. So, somebody, kung may Pinoy dyan sa WWE, make it happen, yo.
I mean, technically, there's me and Carlo, but we're nowhere near WWE music.
OPM din si David Pomeranz eh.
Pinoy pride.
Yeah. My pick for the finals is Gunther versus LA Knight. I still find it weird that Solo Sikoa is not on this thing, and Tamatonga is. I don't understand why that's happening. Gunther also my pick for the King. Ang hirap kasi, ang hirap kapag you I don't see that guy losing a whole lot after losing one. So yung character ni Gunther right now is guy who does not lose. So I don't want to see him lose either. It's one of those things that they have built up well, and LA Knight on the SmackDown card, the SmackDown bracket is literally the East Coast of this whole thing, the Eastern Conference of this whole thing. Diba? Look at the West. Look at the Western Conference. It's so stacked. Diba?
That's true.
So Eastern Conference, I only have LA Knight here, and Randy Orton and AJ Styles. That's it. That's the whole standout of the whole Eastern Conference.
No love for Bobby Lashley.
Nope. Sorry. Not right now. Not right now. So yeah, it's the Western Conference is the strongest one here.
Damn, that's cold. So yeah, let us know what your winner picks are, or who your winner picks are rather, for King of the Ring as we get to the Queen of the Ring bracket. Ito, we only have the Raw half of the bracket right now. And as you can see, hindi pa ina-announce yung SmackDown side eh.
Jesus
As
Christ.
you can see, Io Sky still waiting for whoever wins between Shayna Baszler and Zelina Vega. That match also set to take place at a WWE live event. But other than that, Lyra Valkyria has advanced. Zoe Stark has advanced. Can I just say, I need people to pronounce Lyra Valkyria correctly. I can't believe na sina Shoemaker and Kaz keep calling her Lyra. Like, parang di sila nanonood.
Di sila nanonood. Yeah, Io has to be in the finals here. I just can't tell who. But sige, since it's face versus heel, it's Lyra here anyway. Would have wanted Shayna Zoe for the lulz, but not everyone is as invested in that as I am.
Now, assuming na the SmackDown bracket is like wide open, but who would you put in there, and who would you pick to advance against Io?
Jade Cargill at the very end. Might as well. Hindi naman bawal lang ang tag team champions eh. So it's either Bianca or Jade, really, who comes out in the finals of the SmackDown side.
Yeah, wala na akong maisip sa SmackDown side eh. It's only those two.
Yeah,
And
probably
Io in the
Tiffy. Doc G's right, yeah.
Oh yeah, pwede. So
it is
but
always
I think,
Tiffy time, Emil.
Yeah, but for the Raw side, Io is probably going to be in the finals. She's going to win the Raw bracket. The SmackDown, yun yung mas wide open eh. Kasi you could argue again. You could argue for Jade. You could argue for Bianca. You could argue for Tiffany. But since Io is a heel, I go with the babyface on SmackDown. So it's probably going to be Jade.
Wala kayong mga dark horse pick for either the men's or women's tournaments? Like someone, for those who are not familiar, someone that you would totally be surprised to see win the whole thing.
Dragunov.
Lyra.
Dragunov.
For me,
is
Lyra.
that guy.
For Queen.
Probably Jay.
Jay Uso.
Yeah.
In before someone says, "Ne, Jay White. No.
Sabi ni babyface producer Jasper Shayna Baszler. Okay, yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah. Yep.
Why not?
Natalia,
it's been a while since Shayna Baszler has been in a spot like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
To, para sa mga naghanap ng tickets for Dexcon Decada, sabi ni Kyle Martin, one last SVIP. So kung sinong loaded dyan, bili na.
Boss. It's one last spot.
One
Don't
last.
throw your shot.
Oh, Zack Sabre Jr. lang naman yan versus Jake De Leon. No big deal, guys. Only the biggest match to happen on Philippine soil to date. Anyway, we'll take a break. When we come back, we've got some Jacob Fatu news to talk about, as well as some Judgment Day stuff on the horizon. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts right here on the Pod Network.
Hey, whether it's a struggle you can't seem to get through or a dream that seems too daunting for you, this is Mirza Season telling you that you can do this. Let's figure it out or find someone who can. I'm a confidence coach and host, an ex-editor, ex-model, ex-20-something, ex-30-something, exactly who you need to help you navigate through life's ins and outs. What are you waiting for? Let's go! You can do this.
All right, before we get to the WWE talk that we said right before we went to break, let's talk about Zack Sabre Jr. versus JDL. Kasi that announcement did happen this week. It was supposed to be announced formally on MWF Republica. But as you all know by now, na-postpone yung show. So instead, the people over at MWF and Dexcon announced it na in the lead up to the ticket sales ng Dexcon Decada. So I said moments ago that this is arguably the biggest match on Philippine soil to date. And I don't think anyone can really argue against that at this point.
How do you feel as the on-screen talent manager of JDL, and this possibly being, or you possibly being in this orbit?
I think na there is no better choice. Sa totoo lang, you know. As the talent manager, diba, as the character, I've always said that JDL is the gold standard of Philippine wrestling, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that the only correct choice to face ZSJ was JDL. But even, you know, as his real life friend and as someone who covers the industry and has done so for the last decade, this is the only match that really ever made sense to me. Like nung in-announce na Zack Sabre Jr. Is coming to Manila, and I didn't know, JDL hadn't told me yet, and it was him. I knew na it could really only be against one guy, and that had to be JDL.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but I also just knew. Diba? I mean, what other match would you put up there anyway?
Yeah, diba? Eto na lang. Not to fire shots at anyone, but sino local wrestler yung magiging sobrang kapal muks to be like, hindi pare, ako magiging kalaban ni Zack Sabre Jr.
Now, I have other people in mind na pwedeng gampanan yung role, pero you know, the best possible pro wrestler versus one of the best imports that we've ever gotten. So it makes sense.
It's a no-brainer.
As an observer, Emil, what do you feel about this?
So Emil, I mean, you just joined the whole Manila scene last year?
Right.
Yeah. You get all this fun stuff. If you joined 10 years ago, you'd probably be walking away.
Di naman. I mean, it was a no-brainer as well. Same thing like when CSJ was announced to be coming here. There was no other name that popped into my head as someone who I feel like yung mga kalaban niya other than JDL. He's like you said, JDL is the gold standard of Philippine wrestling. He's the best. He's Mr. Philippine Wrestling for a reason. So I don't know. It's a no-brainer. Makes a whole lot of sense, and I'm excited for it. I'm gonna see it in person, which I'm really excited.
O di ikaw na.
Albert, I would love for Zack Sabre Jr. to fold me up into a pretzel and for him to PK my ass. I would love for that to happen. Ito, kwento ko. Jeff Cobb once asked me if I was willing to take the tour of the islands. And I actually thought about it, and Rose stepped in and said, he's not trained, sir.
Did I step in?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Okay. It made sense at the time because even he would have said the same thing once he knew na hindi ka trained. You don't take box.
Oh, naman. Yeah. But, you know,
kasi ikaw kasi yung, well, ako yung pinakamagaan, pero ikaw yung technically on paper, ikaw yung magaan.
Yeah.
Kasi ikaw yung non-competitor. Yeah.
All right, on to WWE talk ulit. Let's start with this one. Jacob Fatu is in the news because people are saying na he is about to debut for the WWE. He will be a part of Solo Sikoa's new bloodline. Pero ngayon, meron mga bali-balita that internally, WWE officials might be worried that Jacob Fatu might outshine Solo Sikoa in terms of skills in the ring and yung presence niya. Maybe even the name value that he brings to this whole Solo's bloodline chapter. So, Emil, what do you think about this development?
This is not even a problem. This is a good problem to have. You got two guys.
Yeah, no, it's not a good problem. Kasi Jacob Fatu, kasi Solo is supposed to be the anointed leader. So he needs to be the one who looks the best. And for the most part, kasi when Roman was on top, the Usos at least knew na, okay, magaling sila, pero magaling kami as a tag team. And then Solo was really the bunso. Kaya, okay, nobody was really gonna outshine Roman Reigns. And this one, in this particular scenario, Jacob Fatu, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is more experienced than Solo Sikoa. And he's also a lot more mobile and dynamic. So that's the problem they're going to have. Like, if this guy gets over a lot more than Solo and, you know, Solo's already pushing it because of how he's booked in the first place, then they're not gonna, the whole experiment of Solo being the next leader is gonna flop. Kaya yun yung problem. It's not a good.
But
You are you're specifying one guy to be your star.
all right, but it's gonna make Solo step up his game. Because I've seen Solo in NXT. He could be more, and he is more.
But he's not. He's not also that guy. He's also trained in a more old school way. Medyo old school kasi yung galaw ni Solo.
All right, but for me talaga it's not really a problem. It's just siguro of how are they gonna handle this. Yun yung magiging key dito because you got two guys who are capable of being a leader of a faction. So kaya naisip ko it was a good problem kasi if you got two capable guys, that's much better than only having one capable guy.
But you need one leader. You need one capable leader.
Exactly. That's what I had in mind. That's why I said it's a good problem to have. But that's.
I want to highlight what Albert said here. Na WWE kind of killed Solo's character, yung street champion, diba? Back in NXT 2.0 when they made him the enforcer. That's actually kind of true. I'm having a hard time believing Solo as the leader of anything just because he's wearing a suit now. But okay, you're wearing a suit. Chad Gable did the same thing, but at least I know Chad Gable can ball, right? But Solo was working as the literal enforcer. And he hasn't won any championships since being NXT North American Championship 2 years ago. He hasn't gotten any real singles accolades. So tapos gagawin niya siyang diba? Gagawin niya siyang mafia boss. So they skipped a couple of story beats there. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, because they wanted to get through this already. So I know that people don't like long-term storytelling as much as they thought they would, but you still needed that myth making for Solo Sikoa as a single star.
Speaking of the myth making for Solo Sikoa, my favorite joke that you cracked, I think this is either you, Ro, or si Chino. Back when Solo Sikoa was being built as the street champion was, sa lahat ng mga anak ni Rikishi, si Solo Sikoa lang hindi niya pinakain at hindi niya binigyan ng bahay.
Chino.
Sa loob ng bahay.
The black sheep.
Pinalayas agad kaya siya naging street champion. All right. Any other thoughts on Solo here and how they could improve yung presentation niya as the new leader of the bloodline?
Give him the United States Championship.
Give him a championship.
We're done with the Logan Paul thing. I don't need the extra Logan Paul days after WrestleMania. Well, what is Logan Paul even doing now?
Wala, endorsing Prime.
Oh, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Give him something at least to hold on to. Give him something, a championship or something.
Kaya ako nagulat na wala siya sa King of the Ring. Like, why is Tama there and not Solo? I thought he was trying to be the tribal chief.
Baka naman Solo is gonna take someone out. Like this SmackDown bracket could just feature a placeholder. Baka si Baron Corbin yung tatanggalin ni Solo or something. I don't know.
Fair enough. Sige, that makes sense.
All right, let's go to Raw, where Damian Priest and Carlito had an interaction backstage, courtesy of Dominic, who's really been trying to bring in all of these guys into the Judgment Day, from Andrade to Carlito. And Damian Priest, in a bit of long-term storytelling, reminded everyone that he doesn't like Carlito for what Carlito did nung Backlash during Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest.
Yeah, again, Vince era WWE would have shoved it in our faces and asked us to forget that this happened. But in Triple H's WWE, meron siyang memory ng elepante, diba? So that's pretty good. I'm glad that Carlito is getting more minutes here because he never got that on SmackDown. I think somebody said that he barely wrestled on it. He just stood on the side for LWO. So I don't know if they're gonna add him to Judgment Day. I think it would be hilarious if he did. But I just want to see more of Carlito wrestling on TV.
I like this segment kasi sinakto nila sa 1 year of Backlash last year. like Damian Priest said in that promo, in that backstage promo. And ano din, like, I don't think Carlito's gonna join Judgment Day. This was just a one-off segment, but this is an ongoing storyline of members of Judgment Day seemingly parang they are not following Damian Priest. Na like they think Rhea for them, Rhea is still the leader and Damian is just someone na equal lang sa kanila. So it was a good continuation, I guess, to acknowledge na, hey, I remember what you did to me last year, so you're not with us, you're not in the Judgment Day.
That's a great point you bring up, Emil, na nawala lang si Rhea Ripley and it's like nawala yung glue ng Judgment Day. Na, I think everyone knew, but when Rhea left, talagang mas naging palpable na she was the one who kept the group together.
Yeah. It's not the same without her, actually. So I forgot who said it, but they were right. Si Rhea nga yung leader ng Judgment Day.
Yeah. Kaya siya mommy. Diba? That's really why she's mommy. Speaking of mommy and papi, Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan have been seen in multiple scenes together now over the last few weeks, and people on Reddit, on wrestling Twitter, they're saying that Dom should cheat on mommy and get with Liv. To that point, I ask why.
I don't understand it either. But this is funny. Maganda yung pagkaka-storytell nila dito. Like, I can not figure out what the end game is and whether Dom is actually cheating or not. Cheating, quote unquote. I don't know. I don't know what the real deal is. So this is fun to watch.
Para daw makompleto yung pagiging Eddie Guerrero niya. Lie, cheat, and steal. Cheat na lang yung kulang.
I guess, yeah.
May ninako ba si Dom?
I don't know.
Yung mask ni Rey Mysterio back Royal Rumble. back years back. But I think they're developing into something here. They've been planting these little seeds. Sadya yun mga nakikita sa backstage. I think those are deliberate because I think something's gonna go down. Maybe
of course, those are deliberate.
Yeah, I think once Rhea comes
it's Triple
back,
H storytelling.
Okay, dun na yun. They will this is developing towards that. Whatever it is, we don't know yet as of now, but I'm interested to see what it is.
O ito, meron nagtatanong, or I want to ask if anybody would actually find Dominic attractive with that mustache.
No.
God. I know one guy who fathered a child looking like that. I mean, I as much as I didn't want to say, meron eh.
Kyle brings up a good point. It works for Pedro Pascal, but Dominic Mysterio and Pedro Pascal are two different people.
Oh, and they do not look the same. And Pedro Pascal does not look like a rat like that. Wala siyang mullet din.
Say what's up to a good friend, Coach Mark Dandan of the UANP Dragons. Thank you for tuning in, bud. But sige, Emil, go ahead.
No, di naman pangit si Dominic Mysterio, but I don't like the mullet and the mustache. Like, mas prefer ko yung clean cut Dom Mysterio.
You would have been pissed off with early 2000s Eddie.
Oh, it's exactly the same look, Emil. Kulang lang yung goatee.
But Eddie's Eddie. Eddie's Eddie.
But Eddie also looked like a rat. It also looked terrible on Eddie. It did. I promise you it did in the 90s.
Dom looks like a kid. Eddie looked old for his age.
Oh, Eddie looked super old. Jesus Christ.
Like when Eddie died, he was 38. Ro and I are 34. And like, damn, we don't look anywhere near Eddie age-wise.
Chino mas kamukha ni si Eddie.
Oh God.
And that's going to do it for the first half of this week's live stream episodes. Stay tuned for the second half, which is already on your feeds now. We're going to talk about NXT and AEW as well. So until then, this has been Romaran and the rest of the Wrestling Podcast saying stay safe, stay healthy, stay cool, stay hydrated, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast out. Peace.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.